Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Stags in the Studio, the first episode of the 2024-2025 campaign. I'm Logan Rundy, the Assistant Sports Director here at WVOF, alongside Andrew Jamison, who is our Sports Director for this school year. Today's guest is in her 30th and final season as Fairfield University's field hockey coach and has been in a part of 200 victories at Fairfield University. Her coaching staff has won Coaching Staff of the Year awards in 2019 and 2021. She led the Stags to a Patriot League championship in 2001 and has more wins than any other Fairfield field hockey coach in the history of Fairfield athletics. In 2004, she won the NEC in her first year in competition. Our guest today graduated from Fairfield in 1987, receiving her undergraduate degree, and then continued her education at St. Joseph's University. She has been the field hockey coach for 30 years, and she is in her final season. It is our pleasure to welcome Jackie Kane. Jackie, welcome to our studio this morning.
Good morning.
Jackie, it's great for you to be here. Our first question this morning is just to kind of what got you into field hockey coaching and, what has kept you here for so many years?
That's funny. I just had this conversation with our team on Sunday. It was our Little Stags game. It was our 10th annual Little Stags game, and what that is a community program that we do to introduce the sport of field hockey for pre-K to fourth graders, and they come to one of our games and walk out with the team. So our locker room speech that day was about the love of the game, play for the little girl who fell in love with the sport, Mia Hamm's famous quote. So I told them my story. It's like I prepared for today's podcast. So my story is different than I'm sure my student athletes. I went to private Catholic girls' school in the Philadelphia area. So field hockey was actually part of the gym curriculum. So that's how I was introduced to the sport. Played for my elementary school team. I think I started playing when I was in fourth grade. So it was a very, very long time ago. And played in the played in high school. And then when I got to Fairfield in 1983, there were open tryouts for the field hockey team. And I'm like, I'll give it a shot. I played in high school and I made the team. I had 4 interesting years as a member of the Fairfield University Lady Stags. Yes, we were an oxymoron. And we had 3 coaches in 4 years and a lot of turmoil, but I stuck with it. We were better when we started than when we finished. And then I thought my field hockey career was over. Once I graduated, I moved back to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is a real hotbed for field hockey. We have a lot of team members from Philadelphia on our team currently, and there were a lot of adult club leagues. So I started playing more, and that's when I actually really started to enjoy the sport because there wasn't as much pressure. It was for fun. And then I had various jobs. I worked at Macy's. I was a headhunter. I worked for a bank. None of them really seemed to fit. So I was jobless, living at home, like we all do somewhere in our lifetime.
For sure.
And my old high school was looking for a field hockey coach. And I'm like, I can do that. And I called my principal, and she gave me the job. And I was telling the team, I remember distinctly the very first day that I drove up the hill at Mount St. Joseph Academy to meet the team. And I always say it's like a ton of bricks fell from the ceiling. And it's like, this is what you were meant to do. So that's why I went back to St. Joe's to get my master's in education. And I taught and coached at the high school level. And then, oh my goodness, guess what? Fairfield U is looking for a head field hockey coach. I'm like, I can do that. So I moved up here. I was teaching and coaching at a high school in Pennsylvania. And And I came up here, took the job for a whopping $6,000, bartended to survive, and my dad asked me if I hung my master's degree behind the bar, and I said, no, I did not, Dad. But so that's my story. I love coaching. I feel like it was really what I was called to do.
Yeah, no, then definitely. Obviously this is your 30th season, so not a lot of people do what they do for 30 years. But I kind of want to get back to the beginning of this. Why Fairfield to coach? Obviously you played there 4 years, but even you mentioned it yourself. You kind of thought it was over after you got your graduate degree. But why return to head coaching and at Fairfield?
Well, I have to thank Jean Doris, who was the AD at the time, for giving me the shot and the opportunity. Not many people transition from a high school coaching job to a college coaching job. I think being an alum helped, obviously. I was doing a lot with USA Field Hockey Association at the time, so I felt that I had a higher level of skill that was needed. But, it was just right place at the right time. The high school that I was working for, Bristol Borough High School in Bristol, PA, had gone on strike. So I wasn't working. I was living near the Art Museum in Philadelphia. Wonderful place to live, so much fun. And St. Joe's Prep, which is similar to Fairfield Prep, had called me to be a long-term English sub. And I'm like, oh, sure, I'm not doing anything. So I worked there for the 4 weeks of when we were furloughed or whatever because we were on strike. And then St. Joe's Prep said, hey, we love you. Will you be a new join our English department? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do this, but it's all boys. That's fine. But there's no field hockey. And by this time, I'd fallen back in love with the sport. So I called a friend of mine, Michelle Finnegan, who was the head coach at St. Joe's U at the time, who I had sent some players as recruits that were part of the Hawks team. I said, hey, Michelle, I have this job at the prep. Like, do you need an assistant? And she's like, no, actually, I'm set. But I think Fairfield U is looking for a head coach. So that's how it happened. And once again, thanks to Jean, I'm here.
Well, it's definitely one of the better decisions this university's probably ever made. So let's get into the modern day.
You.
Of course. I mean, you've been super successful here at this university. And so let's get into some of the concepts of, practice and games and things like that. Something I look at, and today is Tuesday, so I'm very curious, especially what's on the docket for the players today. Take me through the concept of Tough Tuesdays, because I've seen that on Instagram, social media, things like that. And I'm always curious, what does that entail and kind of how did it start?
Well, I thank Susanna Townsend, our new assistant coach, who joined the squad this year. She brought this with her from her time with Team GB. They called it Thinking Thursday, actually, and I'm like, well, we can't do Thursday. It's the day before a game. So we started with Tough Tuesday. And it's becoming pretty heated. The whole purpose of it, though, and is to get them to think. I know our record isn't as indicative of how talented and strong our team is. We could easily be, whatever, I don't even, 8-0, I think, or 7-0. I don't even know what we have. But on Tuesdays, we fabricate rules and a point system for them to practice strategies that we want to become part of their game without us telling them. So it's really awesome. Today we're learning, or we're really working on getting the ball into the pocket, the screen, and then back out and around. They did that really well against Maine, and that was one of the reasons why we won that game. It wasn't something that we could do against Ryder because Ryder plays on a very slow turf field, so it was hard for us to transition our style into that field, but we have to do it again 2 more times this season, so hopefully we'll be more successful those next times.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot. The team it relies on the culture. There's a lot of many Fairfield sports. It's all about the culture and just getting the tone set. And I kind of just you mentioned it with the Tough Tuesdays, kind of like furthering that culture and bond. And one point in particular, excuse me if I get the name wrong, but Malin Iglesias, assistant head coach in her second year at Fairfield.
Yep.
She played for 4 years at Fairfield. So what's it like? What does she bring to the table coaching and seeing her going from player to coach?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned her because I was going to eventually. Malin is very special to me personally, but also to the program. She's part of the most successful team we ever had in 2019 when we won an NCAA game, beat Boston College, who was ranked at the time. I think we went 19-3. It's crazy. She was NEC Player of the Year, went on to do her 5th year at Ohio State, which was a testament to her, but also to our program because people take us seriously. We also have two players that have gone on to do their 5th year at Cal Berkeley. So Mal comes from a coaching background. Both her parents are coaches in Argentina. I was introduced to her from the Penn State coach, Stuart Smith, who couldn't take her on the squad, and he calls me and he said Kiki, because he knows me as my nickname. He goes, I have a great girl for you, Malin Iglesias. She's like a Sherpa. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, she will take the entire team and put them on her back to make sure they're successful. And he was absolutely right. She did it as a player. She's now doing it as a coach. She's deeply caring, but also accountable. That's the hardest thing to teach 18 to 21-year-olds, I've discovered over my 30 years of coaching, is, owning the good, but also owning the bad, and realizing that your choices affect not only you and others, and to accept the responsibility from those choices. But so Mal and I are similar in that mindset, and so is Susanna. So, I have a dream team coaching staff right now.
That's awesome. So you were right. So you did go 19-3 that year. BC was ranked number 13 in the country. It was a 3-2 overtime win in Chestnut Hill.
Yep.
You also beat number 2 UConn. You lost just by a goal in overtime, though, so a great game.
Yep.
And then you beat number 23 American 2 days before, 3-1 here in Fairfield. So moving on the field hockey side, we could talk about it all day, I'm sure. But I want to talk about the camp that you run, the Little Stags Field Hockey Camp. We touched on it earlier, and I see it all over social media. How did that get started? And I know you're a big, community service member in this community. How do you, take that and inspire young girls to, continue the sport and maybe pursue a possible dream of theirs?
Well, it's twofold. Primarily, it's introducing the sport. I think I had some. Yeah, it's definitely started with Jody Kozarski, Shannon, and Adrian Williamson, who had daughters that didn't have a field hockey program, and same with my own daughter. There were no youth programs for them to be involved in. I didn't start Little Stags early enough for my daughter Mimi, but I did start a youth program in our town of Trumbull when she was in 5th grade. But the Little Stags, I'm like, okay, we'll do something. So I think we had 20 kids maybe that first year. We charged a little bit of money, so it was also a fundraiser for our program. And it has grown exponentially. It is the hot ticket on Moms of Fairfield. They're like, registration's open. Last year we actually sold out with 90. I'm like, I can't take any more kids beyond that. This fall we have 70. They're mostly kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. The players enjoy it. I think the kindergartners are half hockey, half, duck, duck, goose. But it's a great program. It's wonderful to see. And then those girls now are moving on to Fairfield Youth Field Hockey Association, which is the youth program in town for 4th to 8th graders, and then helping out, and then moving on to the high school programs at Ludlow and Ward. So hopefully we're making the town of Fairfield a little more competitive in the FCAC.
Yeah, no, it definitely is like mutual benefit because you see like all the players, just everyone giving in with the opportunity. Because like I feel like it's one of those fulfilling opportunities in that sense. But going back to like seeing like your career as a coach, what's like the most rewarding part, I guess, looking back maybe over your 30 years of being a coach? I know there's countless memories and.
This 30 years is a long time.
I know it's a long time.
I know. Obviously, there's tons of great memories, but okay, I might get a little emotional here. It was hard to do it for so long because my husband's been in Atlanta for almost the past 3 years helping his parents. So especially the last couple of years have been difficult, never knowing the right time to go. But what happened this past February, I was looking for something in a trunk, and I came across something that I wrote. I'm like, what is this? And it was a speech I gave at my old high school that I coached at on career day. Once I was a Division I coach, they had me come and be the keynote speaker for career day about being a Division I coach. And so I found that speech, and it was really grounding for me because it reminded me of why I chose coaching as a profession, or more aptly, why coaching chose me. And like the thing I said then, and the thing that I'm really focusing on this last season I have with this amazing group of girls, is that I have the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. And obviously, yes, you can do that as a teacher, but I thought as a coach, and especially a college coach, you get to spend 4 years with an individual, and you really get to see them grow and mature, and and hopefully make their life just a little bit better, harder on the field, obviously, and push them to be their best. But hopefully at the end of the day, they learn something and they appreciate their time at Fairfield.
It's an excellent story. And I think that kind of ties into my next question of, what do you want people to remember you as? Do you want them to remember you as a great field hockey coach, a great person, or somebody that inspired them to do anything with their life, follow their dreams? What is that answer for you?
Well, I'll take all three, A, B, and C, all of the above. No, I just hope they look back and say that Coach was kind.
It's a great answer.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of touched everything that we wanted to go on, I guess. But going back, we talked about why Fairfield. Fairfield obviously had the opening at the time, and why returning as the coach. Did it feel more like a calling in a sense, or was it more of a right place, right time, as you said?
Well, we all go to a Jesuit school, so I think a little bit of faith and calling was definitely involved in it. I think coaching is not a career. I think it's a vocation, and I think you're truly called to do it. I could have easily ignored all those signs. I could have stayed in Philadelphia and taught at St. Joe's Prep and would have had a completely different life, probably, still have our family house on the Jersey Shore, which I'm kind of sad that I don't have. My brothers have one, though, so I can visit them. I'm a Philadelphia sports fan, but I don't follow them anymore because I don't get the Philadelphia Inquirer every morning. So Moving to Connecticut for 30 years, if you had told me, because I was such a diehard Philly, Jersey girl, I would have been like, no way. But started a family here. I have 3 amazing kids. A lot of, the opportunity for them to get their education, some scholarships through the consortium and the Jesuit scholarships was huge, and especially as a single mom at the time, because I'm no longer with their father, but married to a great guy now. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't know what I'm going to do next. I mean, I have to do something next, unfortunately. Like, coaching isn't, it's not Wall Street. So it's always those MasterCard moments, right? That's priceless. It's certainly not a super lucrative career, but I never chose a career for money anyhow. So
it's a great answer to that question. And kind of what I like to think, when I think Fairfield University, I think about the Fairfield community, but also university community as well. Having your field here on campus and, being able to interact with a bunch of members that maybe not be on your team, like Andrew and I. Talk me through, over the past 30 years of, how the relationship has been with the university athletic staff, the university as a whole, Fairfield, Connecticut. Kind of talk me through, what you're going to remember most about this area.
Well, the food.
That's a great answer.
That's a no-brainer. Fairfield has so many good places to eat. My daughter's actually back from France visiting. She's working as a pastry chef in France right now, but she came home and she had a list. She's like, we got to go here, 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 here. I need all these things. She's going to garden catering for lunch today.
That's a popular one in my room.
Needed those nuggies. There's so many people, obviously, in the athletic staff. I mean, my very first year with Jean Doris, and I was hired the same day as Todd Kress, who was a volleyball coach here, is now out at San Jose State. He came to Fairfield, was at Western Illinois, and then down to Florida State, and then to Buffalo, and then to Fairfield, and then out to San Jose State. Yep, I know a lot about Todd because Todd and I, first of all, he made $7,000 and I made $6,000, so that's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But when I met him, I was just like, hey, guess we're living together. And he's like, who is this blonde girl? And what is she talking about? I'm like, have you seen the rents around here? So we ended up living together over by Sacred Heart in a little condo with his dog Ethel, his girlfriend Donnie, and my assistant coach Nancy Joel, who I begged to come help me out for like a cot in my room. Like, I'll pay for your meals. So Nancy just came back a couple weeks ago to make it full circle. So obviously Todd, huge memories with him. Julie B is the softball coach. We're some of the Golden Stags on staff now, with Nancy, our new one from the volleyball team, the wise, seasoned women of the athletic department, in addition to Allison Sexton, who has been my boss for at least 15 years. And her support, especially when I was struggling, when Charlie moved to Atlanta, it's just been huge, and I'll never be able to thank her enough. Current AD, Paul, has definitely pushed me to be even, didn't let me rest on my laurels, kept pushing me to be better, whether it was with student-athlete experience or competitiveness of the program, and has certainly set up the program for whoever gets it next to be, continue its rise in Division I. But And Mark Ayotte. Can't forget Mark. He's been our trainer. The girls love him. I love him. He's so caring. Keeps everybody stitched up and Band-Aid up and ready to go. He's very busy. I don't think if you're looking for a podcast, I mean, talk to one of the athletic trainers. They're the unsung heroes of the athletic department. And then off campus, Phil Lane was huge. He's retired. He was economics teacher here. He was kind of my, I bring him in to close the sale with recruits, because if you ever had Phil Lane, his energy is just, he's like Tigger. I mean, he just has a lot of energy, and talked about the academic programs at Fairfield, but had also been a long timer at Fairfield, so could really talk about the values and the values of Fairfield and what Fairfield can provide for value going forward. Currently, we have Dr. Cindy Batista, who is the super fan of Fairfield University field
Is
hockey
she
right
the
now.
one in the hat on the sidelines every game?
Yes.
I intern at Stag Sports Network, and I'm always wondering, because it feels like every team has a good luck charm in a sense, and the team just thrives off of the energy, I feel like. So if you want to go more in depth about her, I'd be happy to hear.
Dr. B. I think she reached out to me 5 years ago, maybe 6, and was just like, hey, I was a goalie. I want to be your faculty fellow. I'm like, sure. I'm always like the more the merrier type of person. I think everybody has something valuable to give. So she joined our little network, and just, is a good advocate for the players if they're having troubles academically, or she's always, a safe haven for them. We have a lot of nurses that have gone through our program, and Dr. B is a nursing professor, so she's been really supportive of them. But what she also provides, because her specialty is the brain and neurology and learning, so she would always, as for coaches, she would be like, hey, have you thought of it this way, which is terrific. And then she would also, she's sort of the safe haven for the team. Sometimes she'll meet with the team alone without the coaches and kind of get their thoughts together and get them all on the same page, and then kind of report back to us what their main, what's good, what needs work on, and she always has a top 10. So we're hoping that she gets with the team this week or next week, because we're anxious to see what the new top 10 is this year.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like every team has a good luck charm, but I think you summed it up greatly there. The more the merrier, and especially in your final season, is there anything different, or is this just like another season for you? Is there more gratitude or any other maybe heightened emotion that you're feeling this year?
Well, it's October 1st, so that hit me hard this morning, because it's like at least the halfway point of the final season. So I think what's happening this year is I'm a little nostalgic. I just saw Inside Out 2. Have you guys seen that?
Yes.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the first one.
There's a emotion that comes out, in a cameo. It's called nostalgia. I'm total nostalgia right now. So what I've done this year is I've been able to see a lot of alumni. So we have a special T-shirt that is only for alums. So alums come out and you get your T-shirt, and it's the original design that I made in 1995 on the back, which is kind of funny, actually. So it's great seeing them. And then I also had, Nancy was already here. Danny Bleem McDonald came for a game. My daughter was at Sunday's game, even though she was never officially a coach. She's probably the longest assistant coach at Fairfield because she would help me with camp, and she would also just have to deal with me when I would come home and complain about this official, or we should have done this, or we should have done that. And she had a pretty good hockey career herself. And so, Danny Brown has come to a game. I'm hoping that Kara Zappone comes, Lauren Thomas Desiderio. So one of the things is I'm also, besides the alums, I just want to have the coaches that have helped shape this program be a part of our final season.
No, that's a great point. I think, with all these traditions and things like that and all these people coming back, what is the thing you would like, if you had one, final call off, what would you say to the future generation of coaches, the future generation of Stags, field hockey? I know it's a loaded question. What would you say to the people that are going to follow in your footsteps? It's going to be a hard career to follow, but what would you say to them? Take a minute to think about it as well.
I think first of all, be authentic. Don't be anybody else but yourself. Be kind, because good things happen to good people. And then lastly, be brave. That's sort of one of our mottos this year. And, take the chances, Take the job with the $40,000 pay cut in Connecticut and bartend. And you just never know what will happen with that. So, that's who I try to be, authentic, kind, and brave. But I would say with all my assistant coaches, the current team, the current coaches, and the alumni, for being brave, I've had to rely on them sometimes to be my rock when I was going through hard times. So I appreciate them so much, and I really can't believe this is coming to an end. Maybe we should do a 6-week follow-up and see how I'm doing.
Maybe we should. The Stags take on Wagner on October 4th, which is this Friday at 3 p.m. here at University Field. It will be aired on YouTube. It is the second NEC conference game of the year. Jackie, thank you so much for being here. Again, it's an absolute pleasure, and thank you for all that you've done for the Fairfield community and Fairfield University. It's something that you can't put into words. As soon as Andrew and I were talking about the first episode, we knew you had to have you on this morning, just to sum it all up. Again, 30 years here at Fairfield University. It's going to be hard to top this career. For me, myself, Andrew Jameson, Jackie Kane, one of the best Fairfield coaches and coaches overall here at Fairfield University. We appreciate all of your time this morning. Thank you so much for joining us in Stags in the studio this morning. For myself, Andrew Jameson, Jackie Kane, signing off. Jackie, good luck with the rest of the season and the rest of your career.
Thank you so much.